Welcome to the ObstacleDominator.com podcast featuring Beni and Brakken Crocker. Whether you want to dominate your next obstacle race or just get started in obstacle racing, you're about to discover every tactic you need to know, from gear to training to nutrition. Get the latest tips from the trenches, get your questions answered, and show up at your next obstacle race ready to dominate. And now, here's Beni and Brakken.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live with three of the best haircuts in OCR. Your host, Brakken Crocker, your other equal yet separate host, Beni Gifford, and our guest joining us from Ryan's iPhone, it is Ryan Kent, the Man-bun himself. Welcome aboard, Ryan.
Ryan, are you the only fellow rocking a Man-bun in OCR?
I wasn't going to rock the Man-bun this year. I was going to let the hair flow, but it's just too hot, like around the neck and stuff. So I've just been putting it up in the bun.
Aren't you in Colorado?
I am, but like when you race and stuff, man, it gets hot out there. I don't know. I mean, what are the girls doing? Are the girls wearing ponytails all the time or what? Yeah. It's just cooler.
We can get into your hygiene later, because I feel like you and I need to have a heart-to-heart about this. But to start, I want to get right back into what we were just talking about. We're getting right down to the nitty-gritty and workouts. So you were saying that you're trashing your legs this week. You just raced Saturday and Sunday. Congratulations on that. What were you, fifth overall Saturday, and then came back and took the win on Sunday down in Alabama?
I actually wasn't – I was kind of on the fence about racing on Sunday. Then I heard through the grapevine that Robert Killian was going to race, and I wanted a little bit of redemption from him scooting past me right before the finish on Saturday. So I showed up and, even the score out for the weekend, which felt good. That's definitely, anytime you beat a previous world champion, it's a good confidence booster. And then, we got 4 weeks until the next big race. So you really need to take advantage of the time that we get in between those, because not a lot of times do you get about a month. So this first week after that race, ideally I'd like to kind of have a chill week, but just due to time constraints, man, I'm getting right back into the swing of things.
Just in case.
What does swing of things look like? Sorry, Beni, I'm cutting you off right ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to make sure this is something we nail down as kind of a structure moving forward with the interviewees, is that we all know who everybody is because we're in this. But, for people jumping into OCR who maybe don't know all the names, I know that when I started listening to the Obstacle Dominator podcast years ago, I didn't know who Kent was when he came on, and I skimmed over a couple of his interviews a couple of times because I was like, I don't know who this guy is, don't care. But if I would have heard at the beginning, this is this guy and he did this and that, maybe I would have been like, oh, shoot, let's listen. So Ryan Kent, for anybody who doesn't know, he's been on the Spartan Pro Team for years. He has consistently finished in top 5 on the podium at full-on championship level events. He's one of the top obstacle racing athletes in the world. And I don't have the stats on you, Ryan. Do you know how many podiums you have in Spartan Race?
Podiums I have, but I think I have like 36 wins.
Okay, well, nice. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So probably I'd say like over 50 podiums.
Okay, nice. Well, that's not too shabby. And you've been in since 2015, right?
2014. But yeah, I joined the pro team in 2015. Okay. And
Just following the natural progression of the conversation, what I thought was the case was that you so it sounds like you raced a little bit in 2014, but I think you told me like when you really hit the gas was when you watched Killian win the Spartan World Championships on the NBC coverage in 2015. And I don't know if that was I think that was us interviewing you, actually. See, the beginning of season 2 of this, when I had Hunter, you said that was kind of a driving force. Is that when you really decided to put put the pedal to the metal and go serious with it?
No, not at all. I decided to go serious with it pretty much after my first race in Virginia back in 2014. I got my butt kicked. Anybody, you can look up the results from that race. I think Beni might have beaten me that day, actually. So, I think that was I got my butt kicked, but I thought I could be pretty good if I trained for it, coming from a a track and field, cross country, road running, and a weightlifting background. And obviously I looked at the schedule to see when the next races would be. And I had to think about 2 months or so before the next one. And I had no idea who was going to turn up. And it turned out that pretty much the entire pro team showed up to the Carolina Beast. And a guy named John Yasko was there, and he was on top of his game at the time. And I basically came out of nowhere and you know, beat all the guys. And that's the race that pretty much put me on the map. And soon after that, I quit my jobs and started pursuing this full time.
What were you doing at the time? Like now it's your full time. It's kind of, I'm not gonna say it's your whole life, but it takes up, you know, a majority of your time each week. So what were you doing before you discovered it?
Doing a variety of different things. I was coaching high school track and cross country, which was a lot of fun. I'd like to go back and coach again at some point. And then I was also selling shoes at a running store, which was also a great time. But obviously that was not like a long-term job situation. So the moment I had the opportunity to move on, you know, I was willing to take it. Although I was a little bit apprehensive because, you know, I didn't know what I was really getting myself in for. I just knew I was passionate and I believed in myself enough that I would be able to make this work. And, you know, fortunately here we are, you know, four years later, I'm still able to do it. So very thankful for that. And that
was one hell of a race to jump in on. That for anybody who has never done wintergreen, because they stopped going there. That was my first mountain course to ever do. It was my second Spartan race. And that was the most like earth shattering thing I'd ever experienced at that point. That I don't know if you remember that mile straight up, like halfway in the race. It was the craziest thing I'd ever done. What had you been doing athletically to even be in shape to be able to jump into Spartan racing and then immediately be a contender for podium?
I mean, the wintergreen race was completely different than anything I'd ever done in my life. I mean, like I said, I was doing road racing and stuff. It wasn't long before that I'd done a marathon. So obviously flat running did not translate well to that particular course. I was in great shape. I just you know, my body wasn't able to withstand the climbing and the descending. And eventually it caught up to me later in that race. And I hit a wall like nothing I'd ever hit before. I mean, I hit the 20-mile wall in a marathon, and that was a walk in the park compared to what I felt that day at wintergreen. Huh. But then I caught a break in Carolina because it was a pretty flat course, and it was maybe a few rolling hills, but a lot of the training that I had been doing, but even before wintergreen, was more relatable to a course like that, and I was able to showcase kind of, you know, what my talents were.
Yeah.
Now for those of us who weren't at that Carolina course, we just heard rumors of it. Like, this guy came in and beat Yatsko, he beat Chad, he beat Glenn, he beat Novakovic, and we're just like, usually a new guy doesn't come in and smack around the whole pro team like that. And then we saw pictures of you, and it was kind of shocking for us because we expected if someone was going to come in and win was that a super or a beast?
It was like a 13-mile beast.
Okay. So yeah, so when you see a beast like that, you expect, maybe some like fresh out of college runner who just got lucky and didn't do burpees could beat someone. But when you saw a guy that was as muscular as you, suddenly we thought like, shoot, this is like that next generation of guy coming up. And we kind of assumed you were a Hunter McIntyre, or Isaiah was hot on the scene at the time. You know, one of those big, strong power athletes who's going to learn to run. And I think you still, to some extent, still kind of have that reputation in the sport that you were this athletic powerhouse your entire life. And I don't think a lot of people know your actual background. You mind if we take a step back through the years and start out like little boy Ryan Kent? Because I don't think anyone knows like the child prodigy that you were.
You know, a lot of people see the results, you know, that I get, you know, at Spartan races, but it's been over 25 years in the making. You know, it's not like I just showed up and just started winning these races. You know, my dad ran marathons and stuff when he was younger. And ultimately, you know, he got me, you know, doing the 5K and 1 mile fun runs when he would go do, you know, whether it was a 10K or a half marathon, you know, they'd always have like the 1 mile fun run and things. So I started doing that at age 4. And then at age 5, I jumped up to a 5K. And age 7, I bumped up to a half marathon. And then it just like progressed from there. I actually, at one point when I was 8 years old, it's possible that it still stands today. I haven't checked in a couple years, but I had the fastest 8-kilometer race for an 8-year-old that ever existed in the United States.
And what was that?
Like I said, it was for 8 years old, I ran an 8K in 32. So it was just shy of like 6:30 mile pace.
That's awesome.
Something around like 6:30 miles.
For an 8-year-old. You know, I mean,
and
there are people that sign up for the elite wave now that can't run 6:30s for 5 miles.
I had, you know, there were a lot of people writing articles that, you know, I was going to be like the next big thing in distance running. And then I don't know what happened. I just hit a point like age 11, age 12. I stopped, I plateaued, and everybody kept saying, oh, it's because he started so young, but I don't know what the reason was. I stopped progressing at the rate that I, you know, was doing earlier. And I was still pretty good. I mean, I ran, you know, I broke a 4:30 mile in high school and then went on to run collegiately as well, and had a pretty good college career. But I don't think I ever fully reached the potential that I think, you know, some of the, you know, public eye maybe thought that I would reach. And, you know, obviously that dream, you know, you hit a point when you realize you're not going to be a professional runner. And when that's really your identity and all you've ever known, it's kind of a tough thing to swallow. I'm sure, Brakken, you can relate to that. And, you know, fortunately we both got a second chance at, you know, pursuing a dream of becoming a professional athlete. And like I said, man, I'm running with it, and I'm extremely grateful. But, you know, I've been putting in work since I was 4 years old, and I'm just, you know, making the most of my opportunity now.
It's unbelievable, that you were so successful so early, and then followed a very atypical path. Most people don't run into their lack of fulfillment of potential at 11. Usually, like when there's a prodigy or something, like they might burn out in high school or flame out in college or go out as an early pro. Like, you were a prodigy at 8, and by 11 or 12 suddenly realized, like, my progress has stopped, but then still continued and ran college, and you realized your potential as a 29-year-old. You know, that speaks to a different level of being able to endure setbacks. Now, a lot of people in this sport have noticed that, like, your highs are high, and every once in a while you just have a low that's lower than a lot of people ever expect out of you. And I don't think they understand why you're able to come back from those. It's not because, like, you just got lucky a time or two. It's because you've been coming back from setbacks since you were 11 years old. And I don't think most people understand the type of fortitude that builds up with the type of background you have.
Definitely, you know, starting so young. I mean, I've been competitive and been pushing myself, you know, for pretty much my entire life. And I dealt with adversity, you know, when I was 7, 8 years old. And that's only, you know, accumulated over the course of my life. So I don't know. I've just learned how to bounce back from rough races just through experience, you know, and don't get me wrong, man. I don't think it really gets any easier. You just know what's inside of you and, like, what you're capable of. And the fact that you know that allows you to pick yourself back up again and get ready for the next one.
So is that what OCR kind of became for you? Was like Brakken said, one of my favorite, when I have to get stuck on a treadmill for a long time in a really boring long session or something like that, I watch a bunch of the Spartan recap videos, because I get really into that, like, motivational pump up type stuff. And there's this awesome recap. I think it's Washougal 2015, 16. And Brakken at the beginning is talking about how his entire life he wanted to be a professional athlete. And I saw coverage with Orla Walsh back when NBC was doing coverage, and she talked about how it was a second chance to be a professional athlete. And it sounds like you were pursuing running, and just from a stall or a temporary plateau, you didn't end up going that route. Is that kind of what OCR's taken the form of for you, as a chance to be a chance that you took to be a professional athlete?
I mean, you know, I don't want to say that I'm not like capable of doing other things, because I truly believe if I stopped competing today, I would find passion in something else, and believe in myself enough that I could, you know, make something else work. But this has been my dream, like, ever since I was a kid. So I'm just going to pursue it for as long as I can. And then when that time comes to move on, you know, I'll move on and find passion in something else.
You know, I want to dig a little deeper into the psychology of why it's so appealing to have that be the dream of a kid, to be a professional athlete. Like, this journey for me has been very spiritual and emotional and mental, trying to figure out, why do I want to do this? Is it for the Instagram fame and recognition? Is it this attempt to be the greatest athlete in the world? And then if it is that just to prove something to other people? Like what's the actual thing driving me? And for me, it's been, I don't know why, but self-expression as it's expressed through physical experience, like athletic performance, is wildly fulfilling for me. I almost like want to cry and hug everyone around me at the end of every finish line, every kind of exhausting workout. It's ridiculously fulfilling for me, and I love doing it. Some people, like Hunter, are driven to compete. If there's a bunch of people in a field and he says it could be anything, he just loves competition. Have you kind of delved down into the dregs to see what for you it is that's driving you to do what you're doing?
Yeah, for me, it's, I think, growing up in an athletic family. I mean, my sister, all my sisters, but one of them, she was also a really good runner. And like I said, my dad ran and he was doing bodybuilding for a while, was a world champion arm wrestler. Huh. So I think just coming from just like an athletic family, that's just what you're around. I mean, if your dad's, you know, a doctor or something, the likelihood of you pursuing that or something along those lines is probably, you know, a lot higher. So, you know, my dad was athletic, and that was kind of the route that I took. And, you know, as it progressed and I started racing, and I can tell you right now, it really, I mean, I like competition, but I think more than anything is I just like to push myself and see what I'm capable of. And I think a part of me, like maybe a small part of me, like likes to fail so that I can just like come back from that. There's like a sense of exact word for it, but there's something pretty fulfilling about, you know, being at rock bottom, kind of, for lack of better words, and pulling yourself out of that. And not that I'm like throwing away races just to do that, but and I'll also add that there's no better feeling a couple times in my life, but I had it in Seattle last year. The way that I felt at the end of that finish line is a feeling that I honestly feel like not a lot of people, most people, will never feel something like that in their life. And to wake up every single day to pursue that feeling just one more time is enough for me to just, you know, keep grinding and keep working. And it may not come, but that feeling is so, I can't really put it into words, but it's an amazing feeling. And
is it a feeling that's tied
pretty
to
much what I'm
tied to winning?
Winning, I don't think. It's just, I think it's overcoming all the odds and doing something that, you know, people say that you can't do. Like that to me is, you know, what feels great.
Ryan, you've said the word 3 times already. Benny, you said it once, and in my mind, I was already getting ready to say it. And I think we've all centered in on what that word is. And you said pursue. I think pursuit of passion is the absolute like core truth here. People, everyday lives, they clock in, they clock out, they show up, they go through, they grind, whatever it is. But that is not typically a pursuit. A pursuit is so specific. It implies having something that is so important to you that you have to actively go after it every single moment of every day. And that reward, the payoff of a pursuit, is, I think, what drives and makes the athletic experience so special. And it's what makes failing and coming back so special. And I think everyone in their lives has it, but they don't really get how special a pursuit is. I always looked at my friends who played video games, and I played them too, but like not as seriously as them. And why is it that people who master a video game, who unlock let's say it's Call of Duty, they go through, they master every level, they unlock every weapon. What do they always do after they get to level 50? They start back over and they go back through the game again. Why do they not just stay at level 50? Because it's not a pursuit anymore. They're just playing with their riches and their extravagance. There was nothing to strive for any longer. They wanted to start back over at the bottom with the basic weapon and go back through it again, because that was something to pursue. That was something challenging and invigorating. And they would have rather lost and had their KDR, their kill death ratio, go down playing a challenging prospect than just cruise their way through the game. And that's how life is to an athlete. And I don't want to like glamorize this too big, but I mean, that's really what it is. Every time you lose, every time you get set back mentally, you're back at level 0 and you have to get back up to 50. But when you arrive back up at 50, you just sit there like, man, I did it. I did what I came here to do and what I put in hours and hours and sweat for. And most occupations in this world don't have the same just like visceralness to the experience. Now, exceptional people find that in every role they have, but athletics, it's so inherent to it that you can't help but pursue what you're doing.
Yeah, that was a freaking fantastic analogy, dude. And it's
but Ryan, you talked about leaving your job, and I left my job, and, you know, Atkins has left their job and Hunter left his. Like, most of us in this sport got to a point where we finally left it. And on the outside, it's this really romantic, glamorous thing. Like, man, you've made it. Like, even if you're not making much money, even if you're just breaking even each month, you're not working anymore. You're just training. But like, that moment was like the most like butt puckering moment of my life, other than proposing to my wife and asking her dad for permission. Like, I can't think of much else in my life that made me just like seize up and not want to trust what I'm doing. Talk about your moment, because mine will never leave my mind.
Well, I can honestly say that I've had people reach out to me, and before I go on, I want to say that I'm super happy and proud and lucky to be a professional Spartan athlete. But like, reach out to me and they say they'd give anything to be in my shoes, and they'd love to be a professional Spartan athlete. And I'll be the first one to tell you, and I'm sure Brakken, you will be too, but it's like, it may not be this glamorous lifestyle that you may think is waiting for you. I mean, it's a sport where you're not making a ton of money, unless you're Ryan Atkins, who's probably doing pretty well for himself. But dude, it's crazy stressful, man. I mean, it's like, a lot of the times you're living race to race, and you might not get weekly paychecks, and most jobs come, they come every week or every 2 weeks. And in this sport, you might not get something for a couple months, and you're just an injury away from, not making anything at all. So if I were to offer any advice to, anybody out there looking to pursue this, it's like, not think twice, but just kind of, have your ducks in a row and be prepared. I mean, sponsors are huge. I mean, if you don't have sponsors in the sport of obstacle course racing, it's going to be hard to make it, because the prize money just isn't high enough to really make a living. I mean, yeah, if you go and you win all the big ones, yeah, you're going to be pretty set. But the likelihood of you going and winning, the North American championships, winning the national series and then winning the world championships, I mean, that's pretty slim to none. So, yeah, man, I mean, I've got myself a nice apartment. I've got, you know, a great girlfriend and things are good, but, it's not probably it's not what meets the eye. You know, there's a lot of stress and, anxiety that goes along with being a full-time professional athlete.
Yeah. There is a stress added the moment you leave a stable income. That is, you know, people talk about, you never know what it's like to be married till you're married, or like, you can't understand having kids till you have kids, or you don't understand loss till you've lost. You don't understand the stress of performing for your living until you've tried to perform for your living. You and I, we're about to like turn away from the positive here. I didn't prep Kent with this question, but you and I have both been either accused of or taken flack for the exact same personality trait in the past. We have both been accused of either being standoffish or pouty for leaving a race right after a race, after a loss, for leaving the venue or like bailing right away. And I don't know if people understand the real reason. And I won't speak for you, but I can only imagine, like, people don't understand that when you have decided to support yourself with a way of doing business and you go home empty-handed and you now think like, where's rent coming this month? Where are diapers coming this month? Where is food coming this month? Like, you don't, it's not being a jerk. It's not being a dick. It's not being a bad sport to have to get away for like 30 minutes or an hour after a race until you can compose yourself to the point where you can fake it around people and be a gentleman again and be a good sport. Like, people can't understand fronting your own money for a race, not making money, and there goes your rent until you've done it yourself. It's great.
I mean, there's one race that stands out. It was what was that race in Miami like 2 years ago in April? Was it like the USA OCR or something like that?
Yeah, where they had that qualifier event.
I flew all the way out there. It was the weekend after Seattle, and I flew all the way from Seattle to Miami to snag a few extra dollars.
Travel money, right?
Right, exactly. And spent a bunch of money, went there, and completely bombed. I mean, I had probably one of the worst races I've had in a while, and that I dipped out like right afterwards. And yeah, man, I mean, it's just it's a different ball game when you're paying the bills with the money that you make. If you have a job and you're making X amount of dollars every week, and that's coming, you perform bad, it's kind of like whatever. But when that's putting food on your table and keeping a roof over your head, it's a little bit different. But I've gotten better with it. I've obviously gotten a little bit more financially stable over the last year or two, but still, man, it's a year to year kind of thing. I mean, NBA, NFL, you get these multi-year contracts where you're pretty much set for a couple years. In this sport, man, I mean, even if you nail down a really good sponsor, that sponsor might not be around the next year. So it's a year-to-year type thing, and you're performing at your highest level because a sponsor who is looking to come in, they're not going to be looking for somebody who's not frequently getting on that podium. So there definitely comes a little bit of pressure with that as well.
I can't speak for Kent, but I up until this point, I thought the reason Brakken occasionally would peace out immediately after a race was just to catch the free hotel breakfast in the morning.
Well, that's after good races. I go back and I celebrate with, waffles and bacon. But Kent, you touched upon podiums there. That's the other thing.
Trying to Benny was lightening the mood.
Well, no, I like getting down to that kind of stuff. But Brakken, before you jump off on that, I've had a very interesting dive into the dynamic of what you guys are talking about. For 7 years, for 8 years, I have been doing my mainstream of income has been something. I'm a contractor, and it's not consistent work, meaning literally every week if I don't actively go out and try and find and pitch myself the best, there's no income. And so I've been living paycheck to paycheck and event to event and gig to gig for the past 7 or 8 years. And so when I won the Spartan show and the prize money was $50K, I had this picture in my head of, that's it. I've made it. It's over. I'm done. I'm leaving everything. I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to commit myself to training, and I'm going to try and ride this wave of being famous to try and actually become famous so I can attract sponsors. Turned out both of the above were completely incorrect. You can't just suddenly become aerobically fit. It's not like, muscles where you can just go to the gym and get strong quickly. That takes years to develop. And then it literally did nothing. Yeah. Hey, I got some biceps too, even though I lost like 20 pounds as soon as I gave up TMX training. But I didn't really have much of the same experience you guys are having. One, because I'm single and I don't have kids, so I don't have all that pressure, but I've been used to basically not knowing where the hell rent was going to come from or even food was going to come from every single month. But I didn't have the edge that you guys have of people relying on you or being a part of your decisions financially. And I think that has actually, I've never seen this as a benefit. I've always seen it as kind of a stress, but now that I'm hearing the other side of it, where you're used to that stability and then suddenly you're trying to make a decision that's based off your performance, you guys have an edge that I either am more used to or don't have to deal with as much just because I've been exposed to it so much. So that's actually been a pretty cool little bit.
First started, I was when I was single, it was a little bit different because I was living in Mammoth. I was renting a room out from a friend, paying $400 a month. So it's like, if things didn't go well, it wasn't that bad. Like I could find a way to pay for groceries and find $400 a month to, keep the room that I was renting out. But the moment, I got into a serious relationship, we got 2 dogs. We've got a nice apartment. I mean, yeah, the stakes kind of change at that point. It's like, no more like finish, 10th place and everything's all good. Like, nah, it is not all good anymore.
And there's an edge to that, but it's a double-edged sword because like my worst race, my worst entire calendar year as a professional was my first year that I went pro. Like I started racing every weekend. The year before, I had showed up to big races and been in shape for, and then cherry picked these other races that I could just go and like smash in, get out, grab a couple $1,000s and leave. And suddenly it was like, I got to go do this one. And this race has 2,000 next weekend. I have to be there. And then the week after that, there's a $900 race that no one should be at. And suddenly I've been on each coast every weekend.
It's hustling.
Yeah. But then it goes bad and it snowballs. Because it goes well for a couple of weeks, but then you miss a podium. It's like, all right, well, I built up a little bit, but now I just wasted $1,000 on a trip. I had to fly East Coast, West Coast, $800 of travel and hotel and rental car, and I didn't win anything. So now I definitely got a race next weekend. But now you're fatigued from the previous 4 weekends, and then that turns into 5 weekends, and now you've missed 2 in a row. You got to go race that third time, and it just like it. Not only do you get stressed, but then you get fatigued because you got to race more, and the more you race, the more fatigued you get and the less you can perform. And then if you get in your own head and start thinking, now I got to train more because I'm not doing enough. I'm feeling so tired in races. And until people can get that under control and just say, you know what, I can go back to a regular job. I can go on Craigslist and pick up a warehouse position if I had to. That's not the reality for most people, but knowing like we're all competent adults, we could go pick up a $15 an hour job if we had to. Like, forget the stress. Let's just go out and trust ourselves to do what you can do. Until you can get to that point, it's stressful. And you talked about podiums. A good sponsorship, a lot of the good sponsorships are contingent upon podium bonuses. There's not a whole lot of like monthly stipends that happen every month. You're rewarded for doing well. And suddenly it doesn't matter if your sponsor is really, really good to you. If you can't get on your podium, that explains so much of the stress of people like sometimes bailing early after a race. Again, it's not a good look, but like if your world's crashing down around you, it's hard to be around people. If you just missed out on your payday at the race and you missed out on your podium bonuses, and now you're going home and you're like, oh, hey honey.
Dude, after I think we spoke after the finish of West Virginia last year. I mean, that was a rock bottom moment for me in my career last year. You know, I told my girlfriend came to that one, and I was just like, I think I may have to just like get a job and still, you know, try to pursue this. But, you know, I think a lot of it was just jumping the gun a little bit. I was obviously really bummed and frustrated with how that race went and extremely disappointed. But, you know, that pulled me out of that hole that I was in from that race, and which ultimately allowed me to bounce back and have the best world championship race I've ever had in my career. But you know what, man, I guess, you know, it's just a roller coaster ride. You know, there's going to be, you know, extreme highs and extreme lows. And, you know, I think I'm getting better at taking the lows and, you know, just kind of rolling with the punches. But yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough being, it's what do they say? It's hard out here for a pimp, but it's hard out here for a pro OCR athlete.
Yeah. And, you know, people will be quick to say, well, you guys chose to leave your job. It's not like someone promised you the world, and they're absolutely right. But that's kind of the nature of a dream. If you're the person that decides I'm pursuing this, now everyone else's logic is gone. It's out the window. You can't listen to other people's logic anymore because it's your dream. And so, yeah, it is maybe arrogant for us to sit and complain like, oh, I have to train all day and then I didn't get a podium bonus. But like that's now your new world. Once you turn away from your past world, you don't get to listen to the logic of your past life. It's now your current life.
It's completely spot on, dude. That happens all the time with like the open classes versus like the elites. Like I was thinking in the back of my head while Ryan was talking and saying I might have to go get a job now. And I'm thinking about listeners and the masses and stuff like that. And I'm thinking someone's just gonna be like, oh, I gotta get a job. Oh, what a baby. But it's like, dude, imagine if you showed up at work every day for a week and then you didn't get a paycheck. You'd be pretty pissed too. And that's essentially what a pro athlete is doing when they're putting in the work and then they miss a spear or something, you know, something just goes wrong. Guess what? No paycheck, no sponsored bonus. You'd be pretty pissed too. It's just seen in a different light.
Yeah, we're not asking for sympathy. We're just speaking about real things that most people don't want to admit about this side of the sport.
Yeah.
Guaranteed money, like the NFL.
Yeah, guaranteed. I can't even. Every time someone gets like Kirk Cousins, 84 million guaranteed, I'm like, guaranteed this man could do nothing, and he almost did, you know. And he's still like, it's my guarantee. The idea of guaranteed money is like, A, it's unbelievable, and B, like, is that the end of your pursuit? Does it go hand in hand that when you don't have to scratch and claw for it anymore, is that the end of your passion? Yeah. So when I was in middle school, I wasn't growing. I just wasn't growing. I was the shortest kid in middle school. And the same thing continued into high school. For my freshman year of physical to do a fall sport, I was 5 foot 1/2 inch and 102 pounds.
Were you bald then too?
I made up for it with hair.
Okay.
But like all my uncles were 6 foot to 6'5". My dad's 6 foot. Like I knew this stuff was coming, but like I tried out for my freshman basketball team with like 72 other kids, and I was the shortest kid there by 6 inches. You know, like all this stuff was starting to weigh on me. And my dad always said something. He always said, half of sports is just outlasting people. Like you don't have to be the best player this year. You just have to outlast everyone at tryouts that's going to crumble or get yelled at. Someone's getting their face and leave. Like just get on the roster. Just outlast tryouts. So, you know, you get on the roster, and you don't have to be the star your freshman year. You know, he'd always say by the time you're a senior, half the kids are going to get in a relationship or a job, and some are going to get, you know, an underage, and some are going to get 2 Ds and they're going to have to sit out. Like you just have to outlast all the nonsense that happens. And then I got to college and the same thing started over again. You know, suddenly I'm the small fish in a big pond again. And he just reminded me like, Brakken, you don't have to be the best or the most talented. Just outlast everyone. People are going to get sick of it by the time you get to your 5th year of college. People are going to get injured. People are going to get job offers. Like they're going to get engaged. Just outlast them. And now you get to this part of being a professional, in quotations, athlete. And the same thing holds true. Like Ryan was 1 week away from picking up a job last fall when we talked. You know, there have been so many months where I'm looking at our finances, you know, in the past, and I thought like, all right, this is the last month, and then I'm just going back to teaching. You know, like everyone gets to that point where it's either like, I'm just going to give up and go back to it, or I'm going to make it 1 month more. And it's riding out that low point, just outlasting someone for 1 more month. And then suddenly, look, Kent's top 3, top 4 in the US again, as he always is. And he's making podiums and winning. They're not NBC anymore, but the US championship races. And it wasn't necessarily that he did anything unbelievably talented. He just outlasted the doldrums. And we're lucky that we're an endurance sport, but that's life, right? It's just enduring more than everyone else is going to endure. You just outlast people.
Yeah, Ken, I think that not like you only learned this at this point, because obviously you've been competing, learning how to push yourself since you were very young, but with your participation on that TV show, The Selection, that's literally just what that was, right? Was you had to outlast the challenges, you had to outlast the instructors who were just trying to get you to quit, you had to outlast, well, I don't think it was you had to outlast your teammates. I think it was very much a team type thing, right? But I mean, you know exactly what he's talking about with that show.
Yeah, you really want to talk about that show or not, but yeah.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
How did his brother was on it?
I know.
He was my buddy, man. We were bunk buddies, and then he quit, and then I was like, crap, I'm on my own. So
he quit with the gas mask bit, right?
He quit. They woke us up super early in the morning. Well, they said we were going to be able to sleep till 6 a.m. And then they came in around like 3, maybe 4 o'clock in the morning with like loud sirens and like water hoses. And next thing you know, we're outside in the freezing cold doing PT, soaking wet in the sand. And like I said, Macaulay was like next to me all the time. And then I happened to look up and like Macaulay wasn't there anymore. And I was like, crap, like where'd he go?
Ugh.
And then I saw him walking off, talking to an instructor. And yeah, man, he was kind of like, you know, my security blanket in a way for the, you know, first couple days. And then I had to find somebody else to lean on. But yeah, that was a wild experience. If anybody's, you know, looking to check it out, it was called The Selection on History Channel. And you can go to the History app or history.com and watch the episodes, or you can find them on iTunes.
I think that show exemplified why you're successful in OCR. I mean, first off, right off the bat, you were just in shape, you were prepared, and you're like, I mean, not to get like all like super complimentary of you, but like you're kind of like a specimen out there amongst normal good athletes. You're just like, you stood apart from it. But like, even though you were so successful with it, everyone hits a low point on that show. And you saw what happened when people do hit their low points. They either cramp up and quit, or they mentally break and they quit, or they just get too tired and too cold and they quit. And we watched you just kind of like galvanize. They did to you what I think was the hardest thing you could do to someone, is they put a target on you. They made you a leader. And it was impossible to succeed in that role. Like, you were put there to fail. And I don't know if you realized it in the moment or if you realized it eventually, but like, you were not put there to succeed. And you took everyone's shit. You took the flack for what everyone did. And then you get all the punishment and the spotlight's on you and the instructors pick at you. And it was just like watching one of your seasons. You start out hot, you start out on fire, and then like one race sets you back or something. Everyone's like, Kent's done. Like, no one comes back from a 6th place or a 9th place. And then suddenly, like 2 weeks later, you're standing on the podium looking around like, man, I outlasted them. It was really cool to watch, because people either broke or they rose to the next level of the next competition. And you just kept doing what you've done your entire life, you know, as a 4-year-old, as an 8-year-old, as a 28-year-old. You took the biggest shots they were going to send your way. You might have wallowed in it for a while, but like, there was always another step moving forward in front of you. And it was really hard to watch as a friend of yours, and to watch my brother as a brother of his. It's hard to watch people go through that, but it's so cool to see you come out the other side different from when you went in.
that show is 2 weeks after that show ended. And don't get me wrong, like we weren't doing like workouts or anything. We were just pounding ourselves mentally and physically the entire time. Obviously we weren't like running mile repeats, but we were beating ourselves down pretty good. And 2 weeks after that show was, I think it was the Asheville race, which was an NBC race at the time. And I was contracted by Spartan to show up to this race. And in such a bad place, like physically, mentally, emotionally. And I showed up to that race, and I think I finished like 12th or 13th or something really, really bad. And everybody was it was just another time when people were like, well, you know, what's up with Kent? Like, you know, what's his deal? Like, and, you know, obviously I wasn't able to speak on it at the time, but like, I'm like, dude, I just got done completing the most difficult thing that I've ever taken part of. And, you know, somebody that's been an athlete pushing himself his whole life. I feel like those words, you know, really speak volume. And it took me, you know, that show messed me up for a good year and a half, you know, afterwards. You know, physically, I think I recovered after, you know, 2 to 3 months, but mentally and emotionally, it was just so hard to just like dissect it all and just really kind of, you know, just that it kind of had on my life. And, you know, trying to fit in racing with that as well was a pretty difficult thing to do.
You know, a part of that show that blew my mind was, first of all, the PT. I was like, well, I mean, that aroused my competitive nature. I was like, yeah, I kind of want to do it. And then I kept watching, and I got to the points where they were putting you in, you know, boxes that you barely fit in and keeping you in there for like an hour at a time, and like playing the sound of babies crying and sleep deprivation and all this mental stuff. And I was like, dude, honestly, I went to almost kind of like a dark place watching that and watching you, because I'm really good at trying to put myself in people's shoes. And I was thinking, I don't know where you're going mentally to not quit. Like I would just be like, fuck this. This is stupid. I'm out. This is so dumb. I'd start thinking about the mental damage, the emotional damage, and all the, because it's literally trauma, what you're going through. You're just doing it, you know, you're consciously saying yes to it. So it's not, maybe people won't call it trauma, but your body is literally experiencing a traumatic event that you're going to have recourse from. I went surfing with Hunter, and it was my first time surfing, and we went with one of his buddies. I'm forgetting his name, but he's like a pro surfer. And I've never been surfing, and they're like, oh, it's just 5-foot waves, no big deal. And I'm thinking, I'm 6 foot, it's not that big, whatever. And we go out there, and I have a good time for about 30 minutes. It's terrifying because these waves, I don't know if anybody's ever been surfing with 5-foot waves, but if you don't know how to surf, a wall of water coming at you is absolutely horrifying, especially if you don't know what to do. Like I asked them, how do I go under it or over it instead of it just smashing me every time? And they gave me some little mumbo jumbo about how I'm supposed to go under the wave, and I never got it down a single time. And so I'm just getting beat up over and over. And I have one really bad wave that just I'm under for so long that I can't figure out which way is up. I can't hold my breath anymore, so I'm sucking in an insane amount of water. I'm starting to panic because I have no idea. You know, for all I know, I'm about to die. I don't know. They're like half a mile away from me. And whatever. Long story short, I make it back onto the beach after a horrifying experience. And for like 15 minutes, I'm like puking up water and hyperventilating and crying and shaking and freaking out. And I've never cried from being scared in my life. And so I'm sitting here freaking out. And they finally come over, like, hey, bro, you okay? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be shot for the next few days. And the next few days, I could not do anything, dude. I could barely sleep. I couldn't get my heart rate up without feeling like I was going to die. And I was thinking about you on the selection. I was like, whether he was actually in danger of dying or going crazy or whatever, the point is he may have thought he was there. His body may have been feeling those things. So whether the legitimacy of being killed or not is there, you went through such crazy trauma. And I was thinking, he has got to be so messed up for so long from that. I don't know. That's insane that you ended up going to that Spartan race 2 weeks later, especially when you couldn't even tell anybody what was going on.
Yeah. And, you know, I remember there being a point in that experience. I think it was maybe 5 or 6 days in, I felt mentally that I was kind of drifting off into a dark place. And I felt like I was like, man, I could quit now and I would be totally fine. Like I could go back to like my life and like everything would be okay. But if I'm going to continue on to try to complete this thing, like I'm going to be messed up. Like I had that moment on that show where I was like, man, this is going to take an extreme amount of effort, especially mentally, to make it through this. And I was willing to go there. I hit that point where I was just like, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna risk it all. And as far as not quitting, I think I was more afraid.
We'll pick him back up right there. I think someone's calling him.
Matt Kempson just dialed in.
Yeah.
Typical Kempson.
All right.
Dude, called in.
Kempson did?
Yeah. Anyway, dude, yeah, like I knew people were counting on me to make it through. And I think I was more afraid of letting them down and letting myself down than I was of whatever challenge was put in front of me, whether that was throwing me in the deep end with my hands tied behind my back or putting me in a box, whatever the case was. I think I was more afraid of just like letting myself down and letting that, you know, people that, you know, I cared most about down than I was of the challenge actually in front of me.
You know, something I've been studying for a long time is that kind of flow state that you see in champion level athletes like Michael Jordan or Michael Phelps or whatever. There's a lot of Michaels. And it's ease and perfection depend entirely upon the degree in which we cease to depend on the conscious mind and we let the subconscious, the prepared subconscious, take over. And I think about how that applies to your situation where your whole life you've been using the conscious mind to set up a correct way of your subconscious thinking and like basic core principles that you operate from to be able to go to these kind of places and say, look, I'm going to make this decision and then remove the decision of quitting moving forward. And basically that gets rid of the conscious mind. It just lets it all go on the subconscious. And I think I am a few years behind you on that aspect of certain principles because I wouldn't be able to shut up my conscious mind the whole time. I would just be thinking about, you know, the amount of therapy I was going to have to go through and how my athletic, you know, pursuits were going to suffer and things like that. So I admire you for that, my friend. And I immediately afterwards, after I watched that show, I think I sent you a message and you took a few weeks to respond, but even in your voice, I could tell you were like just dead. Cause you were like, yeah, man, we'll catch up at some point, but I'll have to talk to you about it later. And I was like, I get it, man. No rush.
So this whole like conversation turned down the selection route, which, you know, obviously isn't as upbeat and peppy, but I think it's important. Anyways, we don't have to stick with this forever, but I did have one question that I've wondered for a while, and I never asked Macaulay about it because honestly, it was just too hard watching him on that show, being someone that like, you know, someone on the show that I loved and cared about. It was hard to see them go through that. And I didn't like, to some extent, I just didn't want to know, but like the curiosity part of me, I wanted to know, were you able to draw on your mental tricks as an endurance athlete to get through things? You know, the little things like breaking it up into reps, breaking it into sets, telling yourself, all right, I know we're supposed to do 12, but I'm going to quit at 10, getting to 10 and be like, all right, I got through the quitting point. I can do 2 more. Like those little things that get you through a bad workout or a bad set of thousands or like a long run. Did any of that carry over into like that real world misery, or at some point where was that all stripped away?
No, absolutely. You know, that my athletic, you know, career definitely played a part in me being able to make it through. You know, the box, being in the box was probably the lowest point for me. And I remember saying over and over again, just 1 more minute and then you can quit. Just 1 more minute. And then a minute would go by and then I'd say, all right, 1 more minute. Then that minute would go by and I'd keep saying it. And then eventually it's been, you know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And that's the one that stands out, just using that, you know, breaking it up into little pieces. I'm sure I I did that, you know, several other times throughout, because I know for a fact that I used just like adversity and things that I faced, you know, in my athletic career, and, you know, applied that to the selection. I mean, how could you not, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
really all you.
Like I applied for, or I was invited to it, and I didn't do it because of some scheduling thing. But like I was glamorized in my mind. I thought, I'm going to go in there and this is going to be my mindset for this, and this is going to be my strategy. And then after watching, I thought at some point that's going to get stripped away, and tricks may not work any longer. It changed from something that I was excited to try to glad that I wasn't exposed on national television. Truly.
I mean, anybody who watched the show, I mean, I tried to hold it in for as long as I can. I wouldn't say that I was like putting up a front, but I don't know. Like I kept everything like closed up inside, and then there hit a point there near the end where I, you know, broke down and had myself a good cry. And honestly, I think that was the moment that I realized that, like, you know, I was going to make it, you know, like I let go of like all the things that were just like holding me back. And, you know, me being able to break down and showcase that, even though it was on like national television, that was the moment where I felt like I was actually going to make it through, which was kind of ironic.
You know, the whole time that I was thinking about it, post-show, I was thinking about, you know, I heard that they were going to do a season 2. I don't know if they ever ended up doing it, but I was thinking, you know, about the process of me considering doing it. And I realized that the whole time I was thinking about how I would get through it, I was trying to find a huge arsenal of tricks and weapons that I could use mentally to be able to get through it. And then I realized kind of what the same thing that Brakken just came to was, at some point, even if, like, let's say successfully I'm able to not have that stripped away and I'm able to use these tricks to get through it, I didn't really win, or I didn't complete it, because the whole point of it is to push you to a point to where you have nothing, and that you somehow still are able to just keep going, even though everything in you is gone and saying, get out, get out. This is, you know, like, isn't that the core of those kind of actual military training things, is that if you do get captured by the enemy, you have to know that even if you're going to die, literally the ultimate loss, that you're not going to open your mouth, that you're not going to reveal information or something like that. So it's kind of defeating the purpose if you go in there and that you never get that stripped away.
I mean, I was stripped. I mean, the idea of what the whole purpose is for them to, you know, create this, like, not perfect, but this ideal human being, is to strip you down of like everything, like your ego. Like, you no longer have an ego, like, at all. Like, that gets like ripped apart and down in every way. Not your clothes, obviously, but like internally, like you know, you break free from like everything, and then the building starts, you know, and then they can build you up into like this ideal individual that they're looking for.
Right.
And crazy transformation, and it was something that I'm extremely grateful for, because it definitely made me a better person. That's for sure. People often ask if I would do it again, and is no. Maybe if I didn't complete it, like maybe if there was, you know, I gave up with like a day or two before the end or whatever, like maybe I would feel like I have some like unfinished business. But the fact that I was able to complete everything that they asked me to do, I'm like, you know what, I'm content. And if they ever ask me to come back, I'm going to politely decline.
So this entire conversation, going from leaving a job to the selection and all that stuff, this probably isn't the conclusion that you expected me to draw, but like, this highlights to me my struggles with social media. I really struggle with a lot of aspects of it, and it's everything in your story right now. Going through quitting your job, and then like having people criticize if you leave a race, going through the selection and have people leave nasty comments on the Facebook live feed of races. Like, it's so casual and flippant for someone to fire off like a snarky comment or something that they either think is going to be funny or that they think is really going to piss someone off. And they have just absolutely no clue of what went on prior to this athletic performance and what that comment can actually do to somebody. It's mind-blowing how little people grasp the ramifications of their actions. I'm not like looking to get on a soapbox here, but it's so hard for me to know your story or to know my story or know Benny's and then see someone attack them in Instagram comments or Facebook comments. And I know like, oh, if you want to be a professional athlete, like you got to have thick skin. You got to not read these comments. Well, like, hey, you're still a person. And you're not a robot. And it is impossible not to see some of these comments. Because even if you don't look for them, your buddies screenshot them and send them to you, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, see what someone said. And it doesn't matter how ironclad you are. It is hard not to let it affect you. And it just drives me crazy when I see people attack people who are just giving everything they have for a sport.
And, I can relate, this past weekend going to Alabama, I've done so much traveling since in between Jacksonville and Alabama that honestly the Alabama race my mindset wasn't probably where it needed to be because I was all over the place with traveling to Europe, and then my diet and nutrition was off. Like the race, I wasn't as mentally focused as I probably should have been. And to what you just said, I actually went searching for those comments the night before the race. And
can I guess where you found them? Did Mr. Newell spark some fire for you?
Sorry, I got to change headphones real quick. These are about to die. Yeah, we don't have to get on to it. Yeah, I mean, I went searching for some comments, and you know what? That was the spark that I needed to get me fired up for the race the next day. And so it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes, it digs deep and it hurts, but then also you can find motivation in it. And, I went to the venue the next day and it was just like, yo, I'm about to mess you up, dude. And, just be prepared, dude, because I'm bringing it.
All right. Well, let's steer towards something a little more lighthearted before we wrap up with some rapid fire. You just got back, as you alluded to, from your, I believe, was that your first international race experience?
Yeah, that was actually the first time I've ever been international at all.
Did it give you a greater respect for what some of these high-level athletes do when they consistently fly across oceans and time zones to compete?
Absolutely, man. You've done it a couple times. I know you've been to Dubai and raced out there. It is not easy. I mean, not only are you in a foreign country where you don't really know the language and you don't know where you're going, you don't know when your meals are really going to come. I mean, everything is just really, really hard, and your body clock's completely off. It's just a challenge. And like I said, I've never I've done 3-hour time differences between like East Coast and West Coast, but France was 8 hours ahead of the time zone that I was in. And yeah, man, just a lot of respect for the athletes that do that on the regular, because, I might be able to do that 2 or 3 times in a year. And that would be plenty for me.
Yeah, it adds such a layer of stress to everything you do. Not only where is the meal, like how late are stores even open here, but like, can I trust the water? Can I trust the food? How is this dish going to reach me? Am I even like going to get sleep tonight? And if I do, like if I finally fall asleep after being up for 18 hours, am I even going to wake up for race time? Is it better just to stay up all night? Like these are the kind of things never crossed my mind. I thought about the glamour of like, I'm going to be in business class and everything's going to be great. And like, that's not how international travel goes.
No, man.
For a non-guaranteed contract athlete.
Yeah. And it's stressful. I mean, we ended up, obviously Paris was a great trip, but there's also a different Paris. I mean, if you don't stay right there in like the touristy area, you end up in some pretty bad parts. And my girlfriend and I ended up.
Is that
yeah,
true?
man, almost had Actually, I don't know. Dude, it was pretty scary, man. We ended up in a bad part of town and ended up just like putting our heads down and walking as fast as we could back to our hotel. But that left me with like anxiety. I pretty much had anxiety the entire time that I was out there, honestly. You know, I would check my heart rate in the morning and my heart rate would be in the 70s. One morning it was almost even 80 when I woke up in the morning. Typically it's in the 40s or 50s. So the fact that I'm waking up with like a 78 resting heart rate just added stress to me, mentally. So
what are you using to check your resting heart rate?
I just put the old 2 fingers up to the neck.
I'm better make it 3.
I'm not cool enough for that. I have to get all fancy with the tech. I put the Whoop strap back on just because I'm cycling off CBD for a while to get like.
Oh, I was worried about what you were gonna say there. Oh man,
cycling off my roids. No, so I cycled off the CBD to just get a baseline of what my normal biosignals are, just to kind of do a little anecdotal experience and track the data and see what it actually does. Because I feel great when I'm on it, but and I feel like I recover and sleep better, but I want to actually see the data.
Frustrating to find out it doesn't do anything. Man, I feel bad for you.
No.
Dude, I would. Brakken, do you got stuff like that you work with?
No, I have nothing, man. I'm just giving him a
Me
high.
neither, man. No, it would drive me bananas. Constantly wanting to like check. Like I check a few things, I'll check my resting heart rate, but like that recovery and stuff, man, I'm just like, I can feel it like internally. Like maybe it's from competing, my entire life, but I have a sense of awareness on how my body is feeling inside.
Well, Brakken thought you were talking about like CBD and products and stuff like that, because I think you've used the Whoop strap right before, right, Brakken?
I don't have a Whoop strap. I have the Wahoo Ticker Fit strap, which I also wear on above my left bicep. It's a bigger strap than Whoop. Sure.
I didn't know they had a bicep one.
Yeah, gotta be.
It's gotta be bigger. Brakken looks pretty jacked in those pictures. I've seen him.
Dude, I will defend this till the day I die. I get the biggest competition pump, pound for pound, than any person in the history of the world. I can walk around at 165, and the second I do a set of burpees or carry a bucket, I'm like 205 jacked down the home stretch. And then I like shower after the race, and I step out of the shower, I'm back to like 165 and scrawny. I just get this competition pump that photographs well. Something's gotta. My head's not photographing well.
I specifically took that picture when I was doing the guess who the new co-host is. I got the one where your biceps are huge because and somebody even commented, they're like, there's no way that's Brakken. The biceps are too big. I was like, you haven't seen the race.
Who said guy or girl. All he covered up on this picture, Ryan, was my face. And this one person couldn't figure out if it was a man or a woman.
Oh my God.
That is the most destructive thing I've ever had said about me in my life.
Well, that's
took a shot of me from the waist up and just blanked out my face, and they didn't know if I was a guy or a girl. That is the worst.
That's a product.
I was in a tank top.
That's a product of the new the new trans athletes taking over the world.
You got that nice face, dude. That nice smooth skin.
I'm a nice transition from male to female. I'm a good stepping stone.
Hey, Ken, let's bust out some rapid fire questions.
Yeah, what you got?
Brakken.
All right, so Ryan, I know you're a bit of a shoe man like myself, so let's kick it off with shoes. All right, road racing shoe. You could only pick one of any road racing shoe you've ever raced in, even retired models. What's your favorite racer of all time?
What's that ASICS shoe that Ryan Hall was running in his marathons?
Now, you like the hyper speeds, right?
Hyper speeds.
Yeah.
Dude, those things are sweet.
That was my first flat of my life that I ever owned, my freshman year of college.
They were kind of like the Hokas right now. They were just like super light and cushy. Yeah. And shoot, I put so many miles on those things.
I had the Hyperspeed 2 or 3, I think, was the first one I ever owned.
Do they still make those or no?
So they got rid of them. They rebranded it to something else, and now it's like the A6 like 451 or something like that. It has a BOA tightening system on the side now. It's like a tri-specific shoe. It's still the same shoe, but I just can't help but feel it's not the same.
Yeah, dude, that was.
So I know you're a
lunar
lunar spider guy now, but I remember that you had a love affair with the hyperspeed.
Yeah, those were the road racing, like 10K half marathon to a marathon shoe. But yeah, the lunar spiders are what I'm wearing in a lot of my track workouts now, and then in the stadium races as well.
Nice. What about just road training shoe? You have a road training shoe you love?
Right now I'm wearing the 361s. Is that how you pronounce this brand?
I don't know. I thought it was 361, like one more than 360 degrees, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I've heard it multiple ways. So I'm wearing those right now. I've got a couple. I was a Pegasus guy. Yeah. And now I'm just kind of like experimenting with like, I wore like the Brooks Ghost for a little bit.
Those are good.
Then they changed up their model on the newer one. I didn't like it.
You like these 361s?
I do.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Come sponsor me.
One OCR shoe of all time for every distance. You can only pick one, and you had to race short course through beast in it. What's it going to be?
Whoa. I mean, man, that's tough, dude. That's tough. I mean, like mountain, like what are we talking?
You get one shoe. They're going to send you off to defend the universe in OCR, and you have no idea. Like that, aliens are invading the universe. The Earth is going to be destroyed. You have to go compete against their best OCR athlete, and you don't know what the course is going to be. What shoe are you taking?
I'm taking these bad boys.
What?
I'm taking these.
And our Earth is dead.
I'm taking these Ultra Lone Peaks, these high tops. Those things are sweet.
Really, though, one OCR racer, what do you got to choose? From everything in your quiver, what are you pulling out?
Man, I don't know. It's hard to go against the Hokas right now.
Yeah.
Like I'd probably have to go with those.
And I guess if it's only one race, you don't have to worry about them breaking.
That's true. Absolutely.
Okay. I respect that shoe. Favorite athlete of all time?
You know, probably like Rafael Nadal. Yeah, I'm a big I love tennis. If I weren't pursuing OCR or running, like tennis, I think I could have had a future in tennis. It was just something I never played enough to like reach, maybe see what my full potential was. But I always followed tennis. Like Roger Federer, Andy Murray, Nadal. Like I look up to those guys, and I just kind of liked Rafa's, swag a little bit. And yeah, he's just somebody I've always looked up to and admired. So,
well, you certainly have the touch for it, but I'd hope your serve had a little more zip on it than your spear throw does.
Ooh.
Oh, dude, that thing looks good.
No,
man.
that's not a knock on him. Ryan has a nice spear throw, but he throws a soft, accurate spear. He doesn't put any zip on it.
It's finesse.
Yeah.
He's
hitting a floater through the lane.
Right. Brakken, I want to know your answer to that question.
My favorite athlete of all time?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have a singular. When I was growing up, Robin Yount was my athletic hero. He was a shortstop as a rookie for the Brewers, won Rookie of the Year, then transitioned to an outfielder and became a perennial all-star center fielder.
We don't care about baseball.
I love the fact that he could do both. What'd you say?
Nothing.
Man.
Baseball.
Time. I don't know. I'd have a hard time. I'd have to pick like one person from every sport because
Well, Brakken, because this is Obstacle Dominator, you have to pick one, but you can say up to three.
Okay. I will say Robin Yount. I really liked Dan Jansen, speed skater, multi-time Olympian and world record holder, and he's from West Dallas, the city I was born and raised in, suburb of Milwaukee. And
I like it. We're not going with the usual suspects.
now I'm going to stay away from the power sports. And then I will also say Manu Ginobili.
Okay.
I don't know who any of these people are.
You know who
I just
Manu
like Manu's
Ginobili
game.
is.
He's atypical. If you asked me again tomorrow, those would not be my three, but that's what I'm going for right now. All right, favorite OCR athlete of all time.
Favorite OCR athlete?
Yeah.
Man.
And if you don't have one, that's okay. I think that's just as telling as having one.
I think maybe I got to go. You know, one of the first person I, spotted was Amelia Boone. I'll go with Amelia Boone.
What did you spot in Amelia?
I spotted her beauty and her beastness.
All right. We'll leave it at that. All right. Favorite meal?
Oh my goodness, dude. Like for a workout or just in general?
Meal. Last meal. What's it going to be?
Dude, you're putting me on the spot right now, man. Probably just some like down home southern cooking, man. Like some meat and potatoes, cornbread, mashed potatoes, gravy, that kind of thing.
Comfort food. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Hey, we did that this past weekend in Alabama.
Yes, we did, Benny. We were at the Barnyard Buffet in Alabama.
What you know about it?
That sounds like definitely
Barnyard Buffet.
The name of the place to get that kind of food.
Brakken was determined to get us there. Everybody else was like, dude, we're bailing, but Brakken was really assertive, and we all showed up to the Barnyard Buffet, and it was amazing. $11, all you can eat.
It left me wanting, though. I thought it was advertised as a Southern/Creole/seafood buffet, and they only had one piece of seafood there. It was some charred, fried, like paper-thin tilapia. Like I thought I was going to eat about 600 breaded shrimp, and it just didn't. It didn't pan out.
Oh, dude, that would have been clutch. They had some good killer hush puppies, though.
The hush puppies made up for it. They were stuffed a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, that was good. All right, one place to train in the world. If you could live and train for this sport anywhere in the world, where would it be?
It's tough because, obviously I'd probably want to say somewhere abroad, but the fact that I haven't been many places, I might have to stay right here in the United States. And I think ideally I'd like to be in the Pacific Northwest, like those mountains up there. If you take a little drive outside of Seattle, you get into I think it's the Cascades. Beautiful, green, just a great climate. If it was at altitude, I'd be there living there right now.
Okay. I only have two more, and then Sweet Benny can jump in. Because you've answered a few throughout this. What is your most proud moment as an athlete? What race are you most proud of?
Man, I don't know. I think obviously Seattle was a great one. World Championships this past year was another race that I was extremely proud of, just simply because of the race that I had before that in West Virginia. So just being able to, pick up the pieces and put together my best world championship performance. I think that was probably the most proud of myself that I've been.
Okay. If you wanted to give the listeners one book they should read, it could be about training, it could be about mindset, or it could just be something totally just
God damn it. You guys know I don't read.
You don't read at all?
A little bit.
All right.
I'm sitting here looking. I got the Jack Daniel's running formula right there on my table. So if you're looking for just information on how to periodize your training and workouts to improve your running, check out the Jack Daniel's running formula.
I like it.
I don't read just to read. Mine are all sports related type stuff.
That's okay. I'm not going to judge you.
Yeah.
I lied. I do have two more. First of all, I want to hear your favorite workout, a go-to workout that you'd love people to have associated with your name. Give us a workout that screams Ryan Kent.
Dude. You know what? I like a good mile repeat with like 60-second rests. So like maybe six.
You can't fake it.
Dude, you can't fake it, man. Like it's
can't
the
fake
real
60
deal.
seconds rest.
It's you know, it's one of those things, man, where like it just gets progressively harder and harder with each one, and that recovery gets less and less. Like 60 seconds by number 4 feels like 30 seconds, and then it feels like 25. And you know, by the end, man, you're barely holding on. And you know, I've built my way up to 7 at 1.7 by mile with maybe 8 with 60-second rest. But that one is something I'll do every now and again just to kind of see where I'm at.
Okay. And then this is the bonus question. I don't know if you listened to Obstacle Dominator a few weeks ago, but we had Nicole Miracle on, who's having an average season so far. And she and Beni have decided that they're having a little bet on who can beat who in the 3K short course at the NORAM championships. If you had to place your money and the money of everyone you love on the line, and you were going to put odds on this, who are you placing it on? Are you putting it on Beni, or are you putting it on Nicole Miracle? 3K OCR race. No caveats. No caveats. Just let the man choose.
Okay. Can I ask Beni what he could possibly run a 5K in?
I just ran a 17:15 on a treadmill.
Solo in a workout, for the record.
And if you look at Nicole's time compared to some of these guys in these races, I mean, dude, she's literally like finishing in the top like 15 in like the men's race. So I mean,
she is.
If you were to lose to her, it wouldn't be, you know.
Hey, don't sugarcoat it. Who are you betting on?
She's beaten her boyfriend right now, I believe.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone has.
Oh,
that's true. Very true.
That's like being the most literate man in Alabama. Come on now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Beni Gifford to pull off the upset.
All right.
It's not an upset, okay? She's beat me once ever. It's not an upset. It's the standard. I can't believe this is even a thing. Like we're
gonna set the odds line based on what your record is against each other. I don't know. Let's say for the year 2019. What is it?
No, because we've only raced once.
And what is it? I'm just seriously. I want to know.
It's 1-0. Her.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, she's going to be the odds-on favorite.
But in the
minus 1,000
in the 3K at in Canada last year, which is the most directly related race, I beat her. She won, and I got like 21st, and I still was ahead of her by like 3 minutes. I'm not worried about losing to her at the 3K.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you're pretty good and pretty confident, so this shouldn't be tough. All right, Ryan. So. I mean, we covered finances earlier, right? We covered the life of the athlete. Take some time. Talk about who has helped get you to this point. Who's supporting you right now? Who can you shout out here?
Oh my goodness, man! I feel like I got a lot of people. You know, my girlfriend, my parents. That's outside of, you know, sponsors and stuff. Those people are you know, a big you know, factor in me performing well.
You have a good one. You do well for yourself.
Yeah, and I let her know that every single day.
And that's just your mom. Your girlfriend's great too.
Sponsors. I mean, I've got Mud Gear. This is I think year 2 or 3 with Mud Gear. Optimum Nutrition, always giving me the supplements that I need. Ray-Ban, which comes in really handy when I'm in the gym getting my CrossFit on. Although I don't believe they're signing me moving forward after April. So
and we re-enter a dark place.
You know what though? They tried to you know, get involved with the OCR community, and I think their product is phenomenal. I just don't think it just meshed well with, OCR, because you're not going to go run in some knee sleeves or elbow sleeves. So, I think it's just more for the CrossFit community. But I got on with head sweats this year. If you are into triathlon or distance running, you've probably seen.
I own a head sweats hat.
Yeah, they make some really good hats, and it keeps this crazy hair all locked in. Gone Rogue protein chips. That's a new one this year. Check those guys out. Probably leaving somebody off the list here, but dude, I've got like 5 or 6 of them. So check my Instagram profile and check them out.
We will. Well, I mean, we don't even have to say it, but he's at Drop the Hammer. Ryan Kemp, probably the most recognizable Instagram name in OCR outside of maybe Hunter.
Ryan, how many people know your name?
Like my actual name?
Yeah, like who comes up to you at races and goes, "Oh, it's Ryan," or how many people are saying, "Hey, it's Drop the Hammer"?
You know what? Earlier in my career, it was a lot of Drop the Hammer. People, I'd hear them yell it, but lately in the last year and a half, I think people are starting to know my name a little bit more. But you know what, man? Drop the Hammer is a pretty cool nickname. So, if they want to call me that, I'm perfectly okay with it.
You packing them hammers and bringing them up to Nationals Park in about a month?
Oh, yeah, baby. Dude, you better be lucky that Seattle and Citi Field fall on the same day. Because you and I would be going to town.
I go back and forth on that. Sometimes I think it's going to be nice not to deal with a whole lot of traffic. And other times I think last year it kind of set the tone for the whole series, that first race having everyone there. And part of me is going to miss not having the whole field stacked, loaded to the gills, as they say. So you'll be there in stop number 2, and then Killian will be there stop number 3.
Oh, yeah. Dude, yeah. Dallas is going to be a stacked field for sure. I'm sure Isaiah will come out for that one. Probably Hunter as well if he doesn't show up to a couple other. So
I just chatted with Hunter. Hunter's going to be jumping into the Spartan World Championships at the end of the year.
Nice. Is he going to do City? Is he coming out?
No, I doubt he's going to show up to any of the stadium races.
After all his talk of him peeling the paint off the walls with us last year at City.
I know.
The finish.
That's a sensitive spot for him.
He tweaked his ankle.
Yeah, it's staring at our backs.
Dang.
Yeah.
Where is Hunter, by the way? Is he still on this podcast or what?
No, we chucked him to the curb. No, he kind of has really doubled down with CrossFit, and you should listen to the episode. Well, no, we kind of just stroked the dick of his ghost for an hour straight on that first episode. But no, he's out. We replaced him with the bald, beautiful Brakken.
Let me upgrade you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Dude, Hunter is on a different
it.
Time zone every day of the week, I swear. He travels more than any person I know.
Well, Brakken's one of the most insightful and, most likable guys in OCR. So you got yourself a good replacement.
For anybody wondering, Hunter has recently gotten an Xbox, and he called me up immediately when he did. He bought Halo, and he was like, "Benny, let's fucking throw down." And so now we chat every day, just shouting profanities at each other for about an hour playing Halo. If anybody wants to know.
Which Halo?
Add Halo 5, the newest one. Don't worry.
Okay. Grandma,
we only play the most recent games.
Not about that life.
I know. You're like old school Call of Duty. It's add Lord Falconclaw 9. That's Hunter.
Lord Falconclaw 9.
and he shouts it at the top of his lungs anytime he goes into any battle. He just, Lord Falconclaw, yeah! And then he yells jihad and a bunch of other hilarious things. No.
Or is he the kid turning?
I can't imagine Hunter being good
at the sky.
No. He doesn't understand radar or maps or how to find the objective of what we're doing. He's always the worst player on the team, but he's not the guy who's staring at the ceiling. He's not that bad.
Okay. I like that.
It's hard for me to imagine him sitting still, like to play video games. But
yeah.
Anyway,
like that man is what fidget spinners were invented for. I picture him like sitting on an exercise ball and bouncing off the walls. Well, Ryan, it was a pleasure having you on. I appreciate it. Taking time, staying up late for us.
Yeah, man. It was good talking to you guys. And Brakken, I'd wish I'd see you in Seattle, but good luck in Citi Field. Benny, get to training, man, because you got yourselves a battle coming up pretty soon. So
with Nicole, is that?
Yeah.
No, I'll see you. I'll see you in Dallas at the stadium race.
Yeah, you'll be seeing a lot of me.
We'll see. We'll see.
On the jumbotron.
I haven't done a stadium in 2 years, so jury's out to what I'm going to do.
Ryan, here's something before you leave I want to leave you with. If you haven't picked up on it yet, Benny is an interesting conundrum. He's an enigma. He is made up of equal parts boundless ambition and incredible excuses. Anytime we start talking about a race, it's, well, I haven't done it in 2 years, and I don't know the elevation profile yet. And, Nicole has to carry smaller sandbags than we do, and I'm going to win the world championship OCR 3K. But I'm not sure if Nicole could beat me there or not because, I don't know, I had a cold last week, and I just got off an emotional call with my mom. Like, these are the kind of things that you got to know about him. He has the will of a champion, but he has this other little devil on his shoulder spitting out all these type of pre-race excuses.
It's what happens in the first 20 years of your life. You're living like a little pansy. I'm trying to shed that skin.
That's right. Shed that skin, Benny.
Brakken,
where are you living right now, Benny?
Well, I don't have to have phone calls with my mother because she's like right next to me, actually. So I'm still in Richardson, and that's in Dallas. But I'm going to be moving.
So you moved. You were in Colorado, right?
Yeah, I was in Colorado Springs. I came back here, ended up being here for twice as long as I wanted to. But I was going to be moving to Boulder end of this month, and then some great stuff happened here in Dallas that's keeping me here for a little while. So ultimately, I'll be hopefully back in Boulder. Well, no, in Boulder by end of this year.
So cool. AT&T Stadium's your hometown race.
Hopefully, I won't be here by then, but I might still be.
Awesome. All right, well, guys. I got kids waking up in like 7 hours here, no matter how late I stay up. So I got to go get some of my beauty rest.
All right, fellas. Good chatting with you.
You as well. We'll see you, Ryan.
Great having you on, Kent.
All right, guys. All right, later, fellas.
Visit obstacledominator.com for show notes, training, and racing resources. And leave your question for Beni and Brakken.